Hey gang, so back in the halcyon days of yore when I first started playing around with single hand poi manipulations, originally the way I approached it was trying to come at it from the perspective of, okay, I've got a thumb led 2-beat here on my forward side. I would really like to switch that into a pinky led 2-beat on my reverse side. And at the time it felt ridiculously awkward to me. I did not know how to make that transition cleanly, but I figured that it would kind of manifest itself eventually, right? And then a good friend showed me how to switch into, instead of doing that thumb led on the backside, or rather the pinky led on the backside, doing a thumb led on the backside, which as you can see results in doing a 2 beats on my forward side and a 4 beats on my reverse side. It's kind of a funny little hiccup of geometry of how these work, that whenever you're going forwards, the thumb side is always going to be a 2-beat move, but you can also do a pinky-led version of this that then becomes a 4-beat move. By the same token, you can do a thumb-led move on the back end, which is a 4 beats, or instead, you can do a pinky-led move on the back side. If I can get my pinky to behave, that then becomes a 2-beat, right? So basically, if you keep the same side always being the leader, that means inevitably you're going to shift between a 2-beat and a 4-beat, and it's just a matter of asking, is that going to be on my front side or is that going to be on my back side, right? Unless your name happens to be Chris Rovo. Let's see if the helicopter came out in the audio. If your name is Chris Rovo, then you just released a video showing how you can easily tether all of these things together and don't have to make that weird choice where you're doing the 2-beat on one side and the 4-beat on the other side. Namely, you can make that shift back and forth between the thumb led and the pinky led in a reasonably seamless fashion. And you can do it both if the poi is going to be doing the 2 beats, like so, or if the poi is doing the 4 beats. Like so. Alright, that was weak sauce. Let's try that again. There we go. So, we have both options available to us. What makes them tick? I'm a little bit better at the 2 beats right now, and it turns out that an old friend of ours is actually the key to getting them down. Namely, the linear isolation. That is, when you're moving your hands straight across in a straight line and the poi either drops down or pops up your center line. If you watch really carefully as I'm doing this forwards 2-beat and switching to the reverse 2-beat, I'm actually doing a little linear isolation with essentially whichever poi was the leader previously. So if I'm starting off thumb led, my thumb poi is going to do a linear isolation straight up my midsection as I switch to the thumb led, or rather the pinky led, so thumb up. And when I switch to the thumb led again, I'm going to drop the pinky end down my middle, my center line. And in that way, it's kind of like a walk across your body, yeah? So thumb end up, pinky end down. Thumb end up, pinky end down. And I think just what it does is it kind of slides the other poi along in such a way that it can then become the leader. It's almost like a pause for the one that was previously the leader. This is where I was getting myself into trouble before. I couldn't figure out how to make that pause happen so that you could smoothly and cleanly transition between the two of them. Now that I see how it works, however, I vastly prefer the aesthetics of being able to do this straight back and forth across like this. It even works too when we're talking about doing pirouettes. That is, I can, as I'm going from forward to reverse, have my thumb end go up and then my pinky end drop down as it goes behind me. Again, thumb end up, pinky end down, and I return to where I started out. It should be said that as you're doing that linear isolation, whichever poi is about to become the leader also has to get to the other side of your body before the linear isolation poi drops. Yes? So we go thumb up and the pinky's behind, pinky down, thumb's behind. A little cleaner, thumb up, pinky behind, pinky down, thumb behind. Yeah? Which is a much greater challenge when you're talking about doing it in a pirouette situation, because you really have to get the poi around very, very quickly in order to complete that movement. Slightly more challenging is doing this from a 4-beat perspective. Namely because you have an extra beat to worry about. This feels a lot less like a linear isolation to me, and a lot more just like you have to keep track of which poi is leading. Whew. I'm having really major problems on the front side of this because doing a 4-beat with my pinky leading feels unbelievably unnatural to me at this point. I can get a pinky lead on the back side relatively easily, but making that happen on the front side is just horrendously awkward to me at this point. So hopefully it'll come at some point. Anywho, thank you guys for watching. Have a good week, and I'll be back with more tech for you next week. Peace.